Yo, Eazy.
What's up, guys? My name is Evan Duvall. This is Eazy Does It. Thank you for joining us. What's up, brother?
How you doing?
What's up, guys? How's everybody feeling tonight? Doing all right? Y'all excited? How's everybody's week going? It's good? Good. Welcome to the Eazy Does It podcast. We're back for another one, guys. We're really excited to have my friend in here, Ryan McGrath. And he's here to represent his company, Trovador Hats. And we'll drop into our story about kind of how we met. I originally met Ryan out here doing a pop-up at Native, and I think it was your opening night, right?
Yeah, it's I launched technically during the pandemic, so it was an opportunity to be like, let's expose Austin a little bit to what this is and what it's about, and yeah, it's just organically happened, which is the best way.
Yeah, dude. I had a podcast that night over at Photo House, which actually used to occupy this room. So this room, preemptively to us moving in here, was a photo studio. And Daniel Wynn, he's got it over another location now. And we were the next people to move in here. But I was actually doing a podcast over there for this podcast industry night. And so I finished my podcast, and I just threw all the gear in the van as fast as I could and just whipped right over here because my boy Tyler at the time was doing photography over here for Paul Val. And so I knew the place was going to be rocking. And I walked in here, and somebody was like, hey, you got to meet my friend Ryan. And he owns this hat company. Come check it out, because I was always rocking my Stetson. And so I went over there, and Ryan was just getting mauled, like just customers everywhere. And so I just like dapped him up real quick and sent him a message later that night on Instagram like, hey, man, I'm having a podcast out at Aviator Nation. Just come through. I'd like to collaborate in some way. And we followed up on that. And that was just kind of like the real first time that we got to connect and see each other kind of in each other's element. And then I went over to his house, checked out his shop, and I saw that this dude had like legit style. I mean, I pulled up to the house, and there's El Camino sitting in the driveway. It's real nice. Like, this dude takes care of it. And then I walk in, and his living room is like a hat shop. And I was like, all right, this is the dude. There's a lot of hats out there these days.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It's funny, yeah, the night we met, I was so overwhelmed that I had done the whole party myself, which was a huge learning experience. We'll never do that again. Yeah. But been a wild ride ever since. It's something that I had started really just looking for a creative outlet, a passion project, something that would just bring a little bit more excitement to my life. And it just developed into a thing that is just rolling now, and couldn't feel more grateful that I get to wake up and do something I truly enjoy every day, especially as someone that has chased so many different avenues, doing things I hated because I thought I needed to chase money. And now, like, almost a reverse situation where I'm doing something I love in sacrifice of that, and realizing there are different types of success in life. And right now I'm experiencing emotional success for almost one of the first times, that like just truly like being engulfed, getting lost in something you're doing. It's a beautiful thing. And I mean,
I love that, man.
Yeah, it's not always fun, but most of the time.
Yeah. And we've connected on that because we're both in the same stage of like a developing passion project that's like highly intuitive of like, I know I got to do something, and I want to do something creatively. So I want to segue real quick. I want to watch this video because you sent this over after we met, and it was just such a cool project. And so I'd like to take a moment. We can go ahead and take the headphones off. We'll play this video over the speakers, and then as soon as it ends, we'll hop back on the headphones.
Turn over my door. thee, yes I will. And open my door.
I think I first gravitated towards the arts as a little kid. I remember just drawing on everything, getting in trouble. That artistic expression easily led to music. And when I picked up a guitar around 13, played in bands in high school, and that continued to transition into loving to do things with my hands. I started making hats because I was a fan of hats, but couldn't find anything that would particularly fit my taste.
Just the same.
But the ethos of Trovador is about storytelling. Trovador itself means troubadour in Spanish, so singer, songwriter, storyteller. The idea is to have a hat that tells a story about your life. And human beings have always loved stories, have shared history through stories. I've always loved and appreciated the elements of distress in abandoned buildings, old cars, old guitars, things that have been passed down that tell their own intricate story through the little dings and dents and the patinas, which I think we as humans naturally just pick up in life. So there's a equal comparison, I think, in a lot of ways that I like to demonstrate through making hats. We naturally pick up some on the way, so it's an equal tell of the story that, we all have little scars, but there's beauty in our imperfections. I think the greatest satisfaction of this process is getting to know people. This has opened doors for me to meet more unique and interesting people than anything I've ever done. But getting to know people on a personal level, their stories, where they've come from, what inspires them. I learn from other people. I'm a student of other people, which me getting to interpret that and include their story through symbolism into something they can wear, especially having them try it on for the first time and seeing their eyes light up. I don't think there's anything more exciting for me. The process, I'd have to say, is my second favorite part, because I chose to take a more challenging road in order to really get to know my friends, my clients, the people I'm making hats for, and help them tell the story so that when they walk away, they don't just have something they can wear, but they have a wearable piece of them. So I think the thing you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to tell your story? My name's Ryan McGrath, and I'm a hat maker.
First off, what's a patina?
Patina can be chipped off paint, can be rust, can be anything that's changed the texture of natural elements. So you look at an old car where the paint's chipped off and some of the natural metals come through and it's rusted, but then the rust is oxidized and it's started to turquoise a little bit. You look at the Statue of Liberty, it's copper actually. And like all of the turquoise you're seeing is actual the patina on it. So
It's like corrosion.
essentially.
Beautiful corrosion.
Yeah, but it's always
I don't know that term coming out of the Navy.
Right.
Corrosion was always a bad sign because you knew you were going to have a long day with a piece of sandpaper just working on that shit.
Yeah, I do that on purpose.
But I like that. That's a sense of style. It adds a sense of authenticity to it. Man, when I went over to Ryan's house and I knocked on the door, I drove around the block like 3 times trying to find this place in the most noticeable van in town. And I was like, man, I hope this dude's not looking out his window because I've probably passed this place like 3 times. Anyway, finally found it. It was with the El Camino. I knock on the door. Door cracks. I'm expected to see Ryan. And Eric Burton the lead singer of Black Pumas is just smiling at me. And he opened the door. And I was like, "What's up, Eric?" Because we had a beer the night before at Native Hostel where we got to know each other. And it just caught me off guard, man. And then Eric was on his way out from his hat appointment. And I was supposed to meet with Ryan. And I was like, all right, Eric Burton's wearing this shit. That dude's kind of swaggy. He kind of got a little style to him. And I was like, I must be in the right place.
There you go.
And, man, I just love it, man. The Trovador statement. We were having a beer a moment ago, and he mentioned that Trovador's literal meaning, translated, is singer, songwriter, storyteller. And, 5 minutes before we hop in this room, I'm hearing that, and I realize that this is just another pursuit of storytelling. And so I think that's what the unique opportunity that we have here to do is to, keep the person that's in this room anonymous so that we can open people's minds and let people see inside the mind of true artists that are contributing to Austin in so many different ways. But I see so much relatability between these artists in a sense that, like, there was something about last year, that year of introspection, that said made people say, like, this is it. I've had enough. I'm pursuing something creative. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it from my space. I'm going to be comfortable in my space. And I'm going to start believing in myself. And I think that's an incredibly interesting period to come out of. And we're here now, and that's the chance that we have, is to tell this story. And so I'd like to go all the way back, like where it began, like how you grew up, and then how we made our way out to Austin, Texas. And I was watching the film, and I noticed that this was laying right here. And I knew it wasn't laying right there when I was sitting down. And I was thinking, somebody just threw this at me. Was that you?
I actually threw it out that way when I cut it. But
It's a boomerang?
that's the edge of the hat once I got the felt. That's
Came right at me, bro.
Hey.
You're
Gotta keep
saying
your head
threw
on
it that way?
You got to keep your head on the swivel.
All right, cool. I'm watching you now.
All right, you're good. So the whole origin story of how I got into hat making. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma. I'd always been a fan of hats.
Oh, no. I didn't remember that.
Oh, that's
You're
all
from
right.
Oklahoma?
Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's actually famous per Merle Haggard. But I was born in Texas, if that makes you feel any better.
I take all these statements about style back.
Hey. Who's wearing my hat right now, by the way?
I took the headphones off to be cool like you, and then it's all backfiring.
No, you're good. You're good. I think it was in college. Like I started shaping hats just because found it fun, wanted to do something different. Never liked the classic rodeo style.
Yeah.
And that's what you could typically get when you walk into a store, right?
Yeah, I went through a phase too.
Yep.
I'm sure you did from Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I was
you
real
should
confused
you
in
should
high
bash
school,
your
man.
guests more often.
I
It's
used
kind
to
of fun.
wear like Skechers sneakers and like a belt that I got from Cavender's and like a Texas shirt tucked in. And that was like every day of sophomore year. Like I was full cowboy and then I wore like running sneakers. And that was confusing. I started two-stepping. It was a really weird phase, dude.
We all go through our times, right?
Yeah.
It's all part of the story.
Yeah.
We're right here. No.
Yeah.
If
If it wasn't for the Red River, I would love you so much.
I was born in Texas. Were you fucking
Okay.
relax?
Okay.
No,
we're good.
I went
Reset.
to Southern California after college and started like just noticing some other hatters that were popping up out there and
Where in Cali?
L.A.
LA?
Yeah.
Like Malibu? Venice?
Venice.
Venice.
Where I spent most of my time, but I kind of
Alright,
popped
cool.
around. And I was like, okay, this something's kind of cool about this, but it's just not quite what I'm looking for. And then like started shaping Stetsons and then designing them myself and had people be like, oh, where'd you get that? And like, well, I kind of shaped it, designed it, made it, and maybe I should, start doing this from scratch. Like if I'm going to do it, might as well do it all the way.
You're like a Silicon Valley for rednecks. In
Rednecks?
Venice.
Oh,
Venice
I mean-
Beach. This is like Lords of Dogtown. I'm making hats, motherfucker. Like, this is blow. I'm flying in from the East Coast to the West Coast. I got a fucked up bowl cut, and I'm going to sell some drugs because this is cool out here. And this was what a young Ryan was like.
Sure. No, and then actually when I moved here, I'd had a custom hat made for myself, actually at a rodeo hatter, and took him a concept and then took it, designed it. And, when I first moved here,
Do you rodeo?
little over 3 years ago, just at your mom's house.
Damn. She's here, Bo.
Well, if you're going to throw shade, just be ready to receive it. But as I moved here, everyone was like, oh my God, where'd you get that hat? I'm like, oh, I kind of had it made, then designed it, and people started asking if I would remake their hats, and decided that this is the perfect creative outlet I've been looking for. And decided to, if you're going to start making something, might as well create a brand around it. And then was like, let's just not, make this something average. Let's start having fun with it. And decided to start doing, lifestyle photography and just seeing where it'll go, just because why not? And like I said, I was pursuing other jobs and sales that just weren't really satisfying, but was really comfortable in, my income, and decided that this is the only thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So went full time with it at the beginning of this year. And, there's a thing in putting faith in yourself and faith in the universe that if you're truly meant to do something, you're truly passionate about things will just start aligning for you. And like at times it's incredibly scary, and you're like, what the hell am I doing? Am I stupid? Like I had everything all set up in a very cushy world, and now like you'll just watch the little puzzle pieces start to come together, and the people you meet, and the way that the dots will slowly start to connect will just make you believe you're on the right path. And it's the most terrifying and beautiful thing that I've done to this point in life.
Yeah, man, it says so much to step away from like everything you knew at that point. You said you were kind of working your way job to job and, doing sales, and it just like wasn't really sitting with you, and to seek your way out of that. There's a lot of people this year that, took a step out of that rat race and realized that something was legitimately wrong. And I hope we remember that. And we took that step, and a lot of people said, hey, I'm going to lean into this. I'm going to do some scary shit because, I've dealt with some scary shit. And, it says so much for that to be a craft, and one that people can take pride in and really, really be authentic in this world. And I think that's something I've started to notice. A lot of hats, I see people and they've got good style, and it just means so much more to me when I see someone that's well dressed, in a sense that, they take the time to care about the way that they present themselves, and they've developed their own sense of style, and they say, hey, I'm going to go with this, I'm going to do it well. And I think there's so much to be said for that, people legitimately caring about why they're wearing certain pieces that aren't necessarily brands. And I love to see that. And I've noticed that kind of authentic style has always been unique to Austin as well. You look at our musicians, you look at the way, they're grounded, they're country western, and they're flamboyant at the same time. Think about Stevie Ray Vaughan and those guys, and they match the raw authenticity to Austin, all while matching like the Jimi Hendrixes of the world, And I think there's something to be said to that, and it has its place here in this city, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, I think that's just the beauty of the city in general, is that, there are no wrong answers, and it's a place where people are truly free. Like, it's not the LA, New Yorks of the world where people are trying to follow anything specific. And there's an incredible empowerment in that, because it doesn't matter. And it's truly about who you are, self-expression. I say anything you put on your head is an extension of yourself, so why not have it be specifically about you? And that's why I go through the profile when I first start the process. I ask everyone to fill out a profile that I reverse engineered from after I got tattoos that, it took me the longest time of trying to figure out what I want to have on my body forever. And so thinking back through things that are relative to my family, relative to numbers, relative to specific events that happened in my life, that I built this out. And it's the purpose of it is self-reflection, but also has just drives the creative direction of what I'm trying to do. And it's like I'm asking a lot of broad but also specific questions that are gonna take things where I can use symbolism into what I'm doing. Like I said in the video already, no no intention of repeating, but also it's just fun. Like I've had people go out and make crazy decisions. Like, okay, so when my mom did this, she went out and bought a horse. She was like, what are my passions? I don't know. I raised 3 boys, and now I'm just like, yeah. So she's like, you know what? I've always been passionate about horses. I'm going to go buy a horse. So just, it's little things like that. It's funny things that sometimes people don't, sometimes that we don't want to connect with ourselves. I think it's easy to just be on a path and be in flow and looking for external things that connect. And that's a shield of having to look inside. I was having a consult with a lady one time, and she's like, well, I mean, do you have anything special to you? Any old knickknacks, any old things like heirlooms? And she said, not really. And I was like, okay, who was the most important person of your life growing up? She's like, okay, my grandmother. I'm like, cool. Did your grandmother ever give you anything? She's like, yeah, an old chest. And I'm like, cool. Will that chest have a key? She's like, yes. More than one? Yes. Okay, like, bring me one of them. We're going to put it in your hat. And she turned and was like, okay, you're kind of good at this. I'm like, I hope so. I'm betting my future on it. So it's just a little intimate conversations. I mean, honestly, like, yeah, I'm still doing it out of my house. And for a long time, it was a point of insecurity and like, oh, okay, I'm not an established business. Like, people aren't going to respect this. And the more people I started bouncing this back and forth from, they're like, actually, no, we love this. This is very intimate. This is your space. This is where you create right in front of us. And it's not, I think the more commercial you get, the less authentic you get. You can get in some way.
Yeah, it's such a tough avenue to lean into, like, because what's necessarily popular, like, isn't truly authentic, and I think that can be changed, but it takes like legitimate action in that direction to just inspire in that direction. Another way that I think that's one way that you can utilize platforms is to drive lifestyle or inspire in that sense. But there's also other ways to approach businesses. And what I heard you say was that this wasn't just a vanity project. And I'd like to get into that story. You told me earlier about how you started wanting to give back and, not just present people with, fashionable things, but to serve something.
Yeah. I mean, I'd always admired brands that were purpose-driven and was looking for something more like, what can I do with this? Like, I think the greatest thing in life we can do is to use our gifts to help someone that can do nothing for you. And I walked into a restaurant one time and I saw a very frail, bald lady wearing a hat, and a light bulb just kind of clicked. I'm like, that's what I need to do. So I went home and thought about it. I'm like, okay, what am I going to call this? And just decided it almost came to me as like a conduit. It's Customs for Cause. So I decided I was going to say that, like, proceeds from every hat made were going to go towards donating hats for people going through chemo. And have the opportunity for anyone to go onto my website and nominate those potential candidates. And it's been rewarding and beautiful, and also hard meeting people with brain cancer that may or may not make it. But at the same time, if I can create something of inspiration while they're going through a hard time, to engrave, I'd ask them to, like, go home and reflect on something, that whether it's a verse or a song lyric or just one statement word that is going to be an empowerment influence for you as you're going through this hard time. And then I'm going to engrave that into the side of your hat with a wood burning pen, and that's going to be a source of power and just a reminder that you know, this problem is not bigger than your faith in being able to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. There's so much power to that, and that's what really tapped me in finally, was just like to hear that there was that aspect, that inspiration to do something, and not necessarily like the monetary return, and of what you're really pursuing there is so much greater. I love hearing that you had that ability to serve in that way and have touched people in that way. And one of your clients was supposed to join us tonight. I would like to send some love to his family.
Absolutely.
He was supposed to join us on the podcast tonight, but unfortunately he had to visit the hospital. So I'd just like to send some love to his family. I don't know if you want to say their name or.
Yeah, I'd like to just in the consideration of anonymity, but he happens to listen in. Absolutely, no, we're sending all the love. So
awesome, sending the love, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, cool, brother. Well, we actually have a third guest that we'd like to have up here tonight, Mr. Dalton Campbell. He actually filmed the video that we watched earlier, and I would like to bring him up here and just kind of extend the conversation. Yeah, come join us, bro. You got this cool-ass chair up here. Shout out to Easton Tattoo, because I jack all their chairs every week.
How does this sound? Should I do this? Can I?
It's pretty cool.
It's weird. It's weird.
How you liking it?
Well, it's not even on.
Taking them off now? So what's up, brother?
How we doing?
Good, man. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Absolutely.
Enjoyed the show so far?
That's good.
Good. Well, let's extend this a little bit. So, Mr. Dalton Campbell, where are we from? How do we get into this?
Texas born.
Yeah.
Been doing photo video stuff for about 10 years now.
Tatted since 10 years old.
East End did wolf on my fingers.
Nice, dude.
One of them's crooked.
That's tough.
Talk about that later. But the reason I'm here is because of him and what he loves to do. And actually, I do want to put these on.
I'll join you.
Oh, man.
Let me get in there.
But no, it's interesting to work with people who have passion and interest in what they do, and they try to excel. I appreciate that as a creative. So.
Yeah, and what brought you to Austin, Texas?
Industry and still Texas. So I'd moved to North Carolina for a little while after being born and raised in San Antonio, and I was like...
Where were you, in Durham or?
Charlotte.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no. And so I came back, and Austin was big enough industry-wise to be able to support commercial interest and also creative and kind of liberal society.
Yeah, I think that's what's so interesting about Austin, is that combination of the ability to express yourself, but also, a certain conservative sense of just like, hey, this is still Texas. This may be a more liberal city, but it's still the middle of Texas. And people, escape from all over here, and people from a more conservative Texas have come here to express themselves. And I think what's interesting about Austin right now is that it's in a state where people are coming from, nationwide and globally for that same reason. I think that's the extreme growth that we're seeing here, is that this ability to express yourself while being good at what you do professionally is really, really important to the betterment of this city. And I think creatives really on the street level are in a place that really inspires, others, whether it's creatively or inspirationally in their own pursuits. No matter how 9 to 5 that is, guess who I'm still seeing out at Native Hostel or out at these galleries? And, those are the citizens that are really going to drive, our city and nation forward, in a sense, are those ones that still care about authenticity and value and care about how things are made, but also know how to have some fun and go out and enjoy themselves and be a part of this world, because I'm tired of seeing all the negativity. Like, we get overwhelmed with just negative shit in our lives, and a lot of us are just trying to hang on and like be optimist, and I think that's really important that people start to lean that way. And I think y'all are both two guys that represent people that are trying to lead that way, but not necessarily point their finger at it or tell people how to do it. You're just doing it, and you're hoping that translates. And I think that's why I like you guys.
I like you too.
I think at every level it's a little bit of pretending. Like, everyone pretends until they create things that give them legitimacy. And you do your best.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that little part of the society that you're in.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say just like care a little bit less. Like, and I say that in a way of like, care a little bit less about what people think about you. Yeah. Care a little bit less about looking stupid. And just decide that, just roll with it. It's going to be fine either way. Don't get caught up in small things in life, but have your value system set.
Yeah, and don't be too quick to call people hippies.
Your hair's getting so long.
I know. That's why I'm starting this movement now. No, man, I think it's been such a good conversation with you two, and I would like to extend this to the crowd. I would like to introduce another mic. If there's anything on y'all's minds or that y'all would like to chat about, if there's anything that you are wondering about,
we got one.
These two dudes, let us know. Let's pass this mic out.
Hello, I'm Felix Bellamy. First time listener, long time fan. Is that how it goes? I don't know, whatever. So thank you for having us, Evan, once again, creating the container for creatives to express themselves freely, to share freely, and to go down the mystery of what you're going to get. When I started off this morning, I woke up after a long night of creating, and the synergy of the world is I'm on the same path too. I just left corporate a couple weeks ago.
Congrats.
Thank you. And through that, I had to understand that I had to keep my peace. And through this journey, Evan's been he's been my counsel this whole time, whether he knows it or not. He's been inspirational throughout my journey to Austin. And so I came here to find myself, and through kind of doing hobbies outside of the 9-to-5 in this new environment, I started diving into what I loved, and what I loved is people. I'm a master of people because I've had to manage them on every level my whole life, and I understood from running targets to being a property manager to being a manager of large corporations, that at the end of the day, the only currency is people and how you treat them. And the only way I got this far without any money or anything is the currency is of love and respect. And the only way that you can get through in this world is that same currency. Community is the currency. And so it goes through the ebb and flow of the world, right? People get too high at the top, they forget what made them, and then the people at the bottom do what they have to do to survive, and this is what it's about. And so I appreciate that you not only are leaping into what you love and you do, but the style is incredible. And I took the Stetson off immediately. I was like, damn, I can't get out of here with a Stetson on now. That's no.
I'm gonna put mine back on at the end of the night.
All due respect, this is a new avenue now. That here we go. I went down a new rabbit hole that I'm happy to be in, and one day you all will find out what my actual passion is as that builds up. But that's something that me and Evan have cooked up for a long time down the line. But until we do what we got to do here, thank you everybody for having us. I'm glad to be here with Evan's parents here. It's truly an honor. Drew, the crew, you guys are amazing. So sorry. Now let me get to the question.
Yeah. What?
What was the first hat that you created where you were like, man, I know I got it. Like, sometimes when you start creating, you're like, okay, I'm maybe I'm onto something, but I don't know if it's just me. Or what was the one where you knew that was it?
What I'm wearing right now.
Woo! Can we get a brief story of? I already see the feather Superfly.
It's when I started playing around with dyes. I started playing around with dyes because I messed up a few hats, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to fix this? And then I started playing with different colors, and I would start in the browns and the blacks, and you can light them on fire, and it creates a level of distress. And I'm like, how do I reverse engineer this into different colors? Because you can't burn a green, you can't burn a pink and have it look good. So I started using spray paint and dyes and different types of textures for depths of field. And I think when I started nailing it, I'm like, okay, I'm onto something that at least I haven't seen before, which is the start of something original to like my touch in the space of at least hats. So yeah,
Okay. All right, pretty much crushed that one. Next question.
What's the worst trouble you got into as a kid?
That I'll tell you about? No. Tell you a story. All right. So I was in karate in 3rd grade, and I hated that I was a white belt. So I came home one day, and I told my mom, it's like, hey, I graduated to a yellow belt today. That usually takes a year. So we proceed to dye my belt yellow. And at the end of the year, I get a green belt. And the sensei was like, weren't you a white belt? I'm like, no, I just forgot my yellow one. And somehow that got found out, and it was very embarrassing. But I was I was the epitome of being in trouble as a kid.
You were a very good kid.
Yeah, that we'll leave it with that one for now. Give me like 3 more drinks at the bar, and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, Mrs. Duvall, I am so sorry. I did not mean what I said earlier.
Dude, you're about to get screened.
She forgives you. Well, first off, your hats are beautiful. But which one is your favorite?
I say I'm only as good as the last one I made. And if the next one's not better, I feel like I am not growing. And if I'm not pushing myself, then it's becoming lazy. So it's honestly the best ones are like where someone gives me a big bear hug because I nailed it. And
Can I rephrase?
Sure.
What's the best story you've made a hat for?
How much time do I have? No. I mean, it's always the human interaction, either like when I'm pulling things out of people through like dialogue that they didn't expect, or we start going down a rabbit hole of a story that, you know, we connect. And I mean, I've had someone stay for an hour and a half for what should be a 20-minute consultation because we just start talking. The human connection is sometimes the best part. But I mean, the best hat, I don't know if I've made it yet, but it's you know, it's the one that the owner connects with the most, and they're happy with it, and they're stoked. I'm stoked. Did I answer the question at all? I was rambling.
End quote. They're stoked. I'm stoked. That's the state I want to live in.
There we go.
You're so perfect.
Could be a weirdo.
What's up, Taylor?
I want to know, as a fellow creative on this journey, at the deepest level, what's the true why? Like, is it freedom? Is it expression? Is it connection? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because I wear this old New York subway token around my neck that the hole that's punched out in the center is a Y. And picked that up about 5 years ago, and not because I care about New York or I've ever lived in New York. It's because it's the process or the concept behind what are you doing in your life? What's your why? And being a purpose-driven person, I think the greatest fulfillment is for me specifically, is connecting with people and doing things that, like, without being cheesy, like make your heart come alive. And when you have to do a lot of different things to find out what that is. But like when you're living in the state of something you love to do, it's like life doesn't seem life's still hard, life's still challenging, whatever, but it's like you get like a little high every day. And then when you start vibrating on this high level, you just naturally share that with people. And that continues to echo throughout other people's energy, and it's a ripple effect.
Feel that. Thank you.
Man, that is exactly what I needed to hear. How about y'all?
Feel it deep.
Y'all feel that? Who's up?
Follow that one.
Any other questions?
Video production, hatter, podcaster. These all seem on the surface level more like solo pursuits. But I imagine there were times, or at least tasks, that you had to, responsibilities you wanted to offload. How did you go about either building a team to get that done or finding a way to eliminate, automate, or delegate what you didn't want to do yourself to the three of you?
I think the best way to do anything in life is organically. Sure, you have to hunt, you have to find, you have to reach out through your friend networks. I think Dalton and I first met because he had, I think, shot me an Instagram message and was like, hey, would you ever just like want to do a video or something? And I'd admired his, work for a long time. Like, the dude's a very talented, creative, moody, just knows how to set a vibe within a picture. And it was like, yeah, absolutely. And, meeting Evan organically, I think whatever's meant for you won't miss you. But also at the same time, when you're projecting the best version of yourself, you attract things that you wouldn't naturally have happen otherwise.
Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. But when I find the most that I'm living on an intuitive level, what intuition means to me is that I have the awareness to listen to myself just as much as I do to others. And when I find that balance, I follow my life path through relationships. And that is how I grow the most. And by pursuing the relationships where you find the most resistance, you grow the most as a person. If you make it to the other side, you will be a better person. If there is ever an other side, and I think that is what eternity is.
We're going deep, baby.
Dalton, what up?
Yeah, no, I just look on Instagram for people who do things tastefully, and I try to reach out as a business and a creative with individuals who, they have style. It works. They understand aesthetic. And I reached out, and I was like, hey, I've got people who would shoot in your hats. Would you be interested in creating something? And so that was about 1.5 years ago. We shoot monthly all of his new products. We've worked on this video to try to tell his story better. But it's all you want to be around and you want to create things with capable people who understand what they're trying to do. And if you listen tonight, he does. So it's for the most part, more than most.
It's a fluid concept,
yeah,
let's be honest.
I've worked with large businesses that have no idea what they're trying to do, and so it's nice to work with small businesses who do very spectacular things, and you get to do it together. You get to build things up. And so as a creative representing another creative, there's a synergy to it. It just, hopefully you can tell their story in a way that represents them properly, and hopefully I have. Yeah.
You nailed it, bro. Oh yeah, yeah. Well done.
Beautiful, guys. Making my job easy. Anybody else? Not all at once. What you thinking, Corey?
I got a question. So, how long have you been in film, and what got you into it?
So I've been in film for no years. Dalton, this was directed at you.
So it's been about freelance, about 10 years worth of playing around with different people.
What was your original reason for getting into film?
I started trying to do practical things for businesses, and then I started shooting people and figuring out how light falls across certain faces, and then I started applying that to different cinema that I had seen that I thought was amazing, and I didn't understand how it was created. And you, I think, try to implement or regurgitate things that you see for yourself, and you move a light around, you move things around, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there it is. And then you try to figure out what might be your message, which I have no idea what that message is, but I just want to create things that are interesting, that do it justice. And so for an individual like him, it makes it much more easy because he knows himself pretty well. And so it's more so just trying to make it fit the creative level of what he is creating, hopefully.
Fuck yeah, Wolf.
Hello. I just want to say that run a business out of your home is a win, dude. If you don't,
Straight
if you
up.
don't,
That's the
Thanks,
house I
man.
grew up in, man. That's mom and dad right there.
Okay.
Both self-employed. I grew up in that house, and
You
they
can-
worked hard.
you can write off a ton of shit, man.
I'm figuring that out as it goes.
Yeah, and
No,
not
but-
have the overhead, or you can lock it up and go. And
No, it's funny. Like, I had a consult yesterday, and a guy calls me on the way over and he's like, I'm in a neighborhood residence. Where the hell am I? And I'm like, it's on Google, isn't it? I'm like, you're on the way.
Come
But-
to the factory.
Yeah. No, it's honestly beautiful because I work at weird hours and I don't get like creatively inspired and at least till after 3 in the afternoon. So like I don't have to be stuck in an office, and you know, I mean, some of the greatest businesses that existed now started in garages. If I had a garage, I'd probably work in there.
Shit, I've heard that story.
Right now I have a living room, so it works out great.
This is Austin's living room.
100%.
No, but for real, man, I grew up in that house. My mom, she moved her business to our house in '95. She got pregnant with me, and she thought, I remember her telling me it would have been a year. You know, she was moving her business to our house temporarily in consideration for my health, and people kept coming. And she's still working to this day. Out of our house, probably 4 or 5 people come to a day. She's a true medicine woman. And
cool.
she does it from the hill country in Dripping Springs. Special. All right, any other questions pressing? Beautiful, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Ryan, Dalton, I'd like to direct people back to y'all's, points of contact, whether it's websites or socials, in order for people to connect with y'all, to inquire and follow y'all's journey. as as much flow or trouble there may be. But we're excited to see and catch you out in town every now and then.
Sure
and
thing.
yeah, it's been a great conversation, guys. Thank you so much for joining me.
Appreciate you, brother.
Well, let's go with the socials and content.
Yeah, so I'm at Trovador Customs, Trovador Customs on Instagram, TrovadorCustoms.com.
Dalton.
DaltonCampbell.com.
Dalton Campbell. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Let's get some live music going. Let's crack some drinks. Let's get to know each other. That's the unique opportunity that we have here. It feels like it's a podcast, but it's really a party. And now we get to have a good time on a Thursday night. It's Thursday night, y'all!